Hello again, Trucker Todd here, and I'm on my 34-hour break here in California, and I thought what better time than to shoot another video. Now, if you saw my last video, I was talking about people watching videos when they're driving, and I read an article about an accident that occurred where somebody was actually killed because they were rear-ended by a truck while the guy was watching videos on his phone while driving. So it got me thinking back. I started driving December 3rd of 1996, and back then there weren't cell phones like there are now. There were a few, but they were really expensive. They didn't do all the great things they do now, and so when you had to make a phone call, it was really a different time, and I mean to do a different video on this. What you did, you bought these prepaid calling cards, and the truck stops would have rows of pay phones, and instead of calling your family and friends every day, you would call them once a week or maybe twice a week on these prepaid calling cards. And they varied in rates. Some of them would charge you a lot of money up front, $2 or $3, and then be a penny or a nickel a minute, and some of them were 10 or 15 cents a minute, but you didn't pay anything up front. So you kind of had to strategize your calls to where you got the most bang for your buck. Going down the road nowadays, most people use their cell phones to stay awake. Now, what do I mean by that? Of course, some are doing dangerous stuff like what I talked about in the other video about watching videos while they drive. But some are using Bluetooth technology to talk to family and friends to keep them awake while they go down the road. Now, depending on the conversation, for example, if you're talking to somebody and it's really funny and you're laughing a lot, or perhaps you're in an argument, that can also be distracting and dangerous. And we found that a lot of people are distracted sometimes by this. So what did we do in the old days to combat fatigue while driving? Well, it was the good old CB radio, something that probably almost all of us have in our truck. I know I've seen a lot of drivers lately that don't have it in their truck, and that blows my mind. But it used to be a great way. We did use it for some bad things. You could use it like a radar detector. People would tell you where the cops were. You could speed and do things like that. But typically what would happen is 4 or 5 trucks would get together and run together and keep each other awake through the night. It was really neat because you could meet a lot of interesting people going down the road. And it's something that I wish would return to trucking. A lot of the shippers and receivers would have you park and they would call you on your CB when they were ready for you. Now they want your cell phone number, and I don't know how I feel about that. I liked it a lot better when we were all on the CB radio. If there was an accident up ahead, people could warn you. And the reason I say that this device could save your life is it seems to be a better alternative to cell phones as a fatigue distractant. And what I mean by that is, I know this video or nothing I say or do is going to stop people from using their cell phones while driving. Probably not even going to stop them from texting and driving or anything like that. But the CB was a great way to get a lot of helpful information about weather conditions, where shippers and receivers were. That's another thing I didn't mention a minute ago. You used to have to call these people from payphones and find out how to get to their warehouses. There wasn't, you couldn't do it on GPS. There wasn't GPS back then. You had to actually call them and get directions. And it was always great when you called somewhere and they didn't know where they were. I remember going to a candy store, or it was actually a candy warehouse in New Jersey, and I called the lady and I said, hey, I need to get directions how to get in there. She said, well, I don't know how to get here. I said, well, how'd you get to work this morning? She said, I rode the train. I said, well, what street do you walk to when you get off the train? She said, I don't know, I just walked to work. It's in an alley somewhere. I said, okay, do me a favor, walk outside and tell me what you see. And anyway, from her doing that, long story short, I figured out where she was. But that was always great when people did not know where they worked. And that wasn't a one-off thing. That happened a few times. So anyway, I'm just throwing that out there as helpful advice. Next time that you're feeling tired, first of all, if you feel really tired, pull over and take a nap. Your load was better to get there an hour or two late than it is to end up in a ditch because you drove when you were past your limit. So if you're tired, pull over and take a nap. But if you're just a little groggy, excuse me, get out and walk around the truck a couple of times, or roll your window down, get some fresh air in your face, and see if that does the trick. And if that doesn't do the trick, try turning your CB on and seeing who's out there. It's a little old school, but you might enjoy it more than you think. Anyway, I'm going to hop off here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.